Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome in. We are so delighted to have you here today. So thank you so much for coming. My name is Veronica Dangerfield, and I am your financial cheerleader. Yay! And so happy to have you here. So be sure to say hello on the chat. And we have some fantastic information for you today that will actually enrich your life. So come on in. Hi, Tori, how are you? So don't worry, we are going to have a recording of this presentation. Hello from Sacramento. Hi, Karen. Oh, Lynn, how you doing, Lynn? Lynn's my neighbor. She's the best. So happy to have you guys here tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and learn about how to protect yourself from fraud. We will begin in just a little bit. You know, what a beautiful day today, huh? The sun was so warm. I just love the summertime. But guess who else loves the summertime? The fraudsters. In fact, I got a text message just today telling me that I needed to contact them immediately to pick up a package that I don't know about that has never existed. So yeah, so they're out there. It just, you know, there's always been fraud. Fraud has always been around, and it's especially prevalent right now because of the internet. It seems like the pandemic has given these guys the opportunity to be even more scandalous than they are regularly. But as you can see on the two people that are raising their hand on this presentation, they have come and they have learned about fraud, and they understand that the protections that they have on their computer is not enough. Why? Because they're Patelco members, and Patelco members show up so that they can get the information so they can live the best life ever. Can I have the next slide? And again, I am Veronica Dangerfield, and I am the Senior Financial Health Educator at Patelco. Yay! I always cheer when I say my name. And you know, we talk about our 4 pillars are managing effectively. You know, when you manage effectively, you can pay your bills from day to day without any stress. And then you can be resilient. When you understand how to protect yourself from scammers, you can be resilient and save yourselves, your community, and your friends a lot of money. And then from there, we want to seize opportunities, right? To live our best financial life, to feel good about our money, and to rise up to a financial future that's specifically designed for you. Mine is an international bag lady. My children will not know where I am ever. So welcome, everybody. And now I would like to have an opportunity to introduce you to one of my, actually, I admire this man quite a bit because he is not a presenter, but he stepped up to be our presenter tonight with so much excellence that you guys are gonna learn so much, and you are going to have fun, and you are going to have the opportunity to support your community and protect each other. We're here on this planet to love and take care of each other, right? So now let me introduce to you the famous, the infamous Sean Casey. Bring it on, dude.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Veronica. That was such a kind and flattering introduction. I'm just proud to work here with you and other people who are dedicated to helping the membership living or working a job that's in service to others. Who is this guy? Who am I? My name's Sean Casey. I have been working in information security for 25 years, and I am our principal analyst for information security here at Patelco. I've been doing that job for 3 years, and it's been a great 3 years working with everyone here. And finally, something that's a little less dry, love dogs. Can't get enough of them. Can't wait to run up and pet other people's dogs out in public. And sometimes that doesn't work out so well for them because the dog just gets distracted with me. So, oh, this slide isn't quite ready yet. What are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about fraud. We're here to talk about defending yourselves from fraud. And we're here to talk about the ways that the bad guys are trying to scam you. What are the scams that are out there right now? The one that is latest and greatest are fake QR codes. We've been seeing these QR codes all over the place. We see them in restaurants for the menu. We see them sometimes for parking so that we can pay the parking fees. We might see them on the side of a bus or on the side of a store to get us to connect with them, maybe through their social media or to their website or something like that. The problem is when one of these sits around for longer than 5 minutes, somebody else can put a sticker on top of them. It still looks like a QR code, but you don't know where it goes. And if somebody's putting a sticker on top of the old one to redirect you somewhere, it's not for your benefit. It's so that they can do something. And typically those things aren't very good. It's going to usually be to scam you in some way. They might put up a website that looks like the menu, but they're doing bad things to your phone in the background. Or maybe they're trying to gather information through some fake forms. Oh, hey, fill this out to join our club. Don't do it. How do we defend ourselves against these things? First and foremost, ask somebody. If you're in a restaurant, make sure that that's the real QR code. Ask the server, ask the parking lot attendant. If it's on the side of a bus and you scan it with your phone, you're only gonna have the second option, which is to check the link that you have in that scan. Your phone's gonna give you a little bit of a preview for that link. Make sure that link makes sense. If it's taking you to badscammer.com or something like that, you probably don't want to click on that QR code. But if it's on the side of a store and it has the store name in it, you're probably okay. But that's something to be very careful with. The other item that we've been seeing a lot of lately, actually, it's been ever since the peer-to-peer payments came out, or person-to-person payments, as some people like to say. Ever since these came out, the scammers caught right on. These guys are clever, they're smart, they're fast, and they'll do anything they can to get the money away from you. These peer-to-peer scams are tough because they're designed for us to send money to our friends and family. So if I'm splitting the bill at lunch with Veronica and I owe her $15, I can open up a person-to-person payment app and I can send her the $15 because I know Veronica. I know Veronica's phone number. I know that the $15 I send are going to go to Veronica. I also know that we already ate lunch together and I owe her those $15. The way that they're trying to scam us with these person-to-person apps is, let's say you've been searching for something online that you wanted to buy. Maybe it's concert tickets. Maybe it's somebody run errands for you. And hey, you found this great deal. And then the seller says, I want you to pay me with Zelle or another P2P app. What happens then? They disappear. You sent them $50 because they were going to run errands for you, grab your laundry or something along those lines. They're gone. That money has been transferred to them and you're never going to hear from them again. Only send money over these to people you know for reasons you know. Otherwise, you're probably never going to see that money again and you're not going to get the services that you bought. Now, we have a poll here just to see where people are in terms of their knowledge of scams and what people are seeing. So here we're talking about scams and fraud. How many people do you think will be a victim of scams or fraud each year? What do you think the odds are? Let's go ahead and vote. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to do that. Then we'll check out the results. We'll see how people landed in terms of the ratios that are out there. Oh man, these numbers are coming in. We've got some good participation here.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, we're seeing these come in. I'm going to end this poll in just 10 more seconds here. I don't want everybody to have to wait too long for this. All right, let's go ahead and close that out. So we had possibilities of 1 in 100, 1 in 50, or 1 in 10. And if you guessed 1 in 10, you were on the money. That is the right answer. 1 in 10 people is the current ratio, the current statistic on who's going to be impacted by scams and fraud. It's amazing how prevalent this really is. That amongst the people you're likely to have at least probably 2 people that are impacted by fraud in some way. It's a dirty business out there. So another avenue for scams, excuse me, is via the phone. We've got these handy devices hanging out in our pockets all day long. And it's a way for us to stay connected with our family, our friends, to do business. But it's also a means for scammers to reach out to you, to me, to Veronica, to all of us. And these take a number of different forms. Sometimes it's a phone call. That's the most common one right now, is you just get a call and it's not something you expected. And they can pretend to be from Patelco. They can even fake our phone number in the caller ID. So you think you're getting a call from Patelco, but it's not us. You need to be careful when you're receiving phone calls and people want to get information from you or they want to get money from you. Do not trust caller ID. Do not trust that the person on the phone is who they say they are. Always, always confirm. And even better, tell them you'll call them back at the customer service center or the member service center for that organization. Patelco will always know how to handle your call if you receive something like that. And if you call our member service representatives and tell them, hey, I just got a call from your fraud department or something along those lines, they'll either be able to take care of you or they'll be able to take care of the problem. But we have wonderful service representatives who will always be there to help you with these questions. The other way we see it are text messages. These text messages will pop up and they'll say, oh, hey, did you try to make a purchase at Starbucks for $400 or something along those lines? And you'll respond no, because that's what you would do. That's the normal action, and that's okay. But then they might say, no, we're going to cut off your card and we're going to call you. But again, that's the same phone call, right? You don't know that it's actually them. You've gotten what looks like legit text messages. You are receiving what seems like a legit phone number or phone call. But when they ask you, hey, we need to verify your social security number, that's a huge red flag right there. That's something that we never asked for, and you should not be giving out over the phone. Patelco's already got your social security number as a member, and we won't use that as a way to verify. It doesn't work. So let's be careful with those. The next one we see is email. The email scams have been going on forever. Seems like they've been going on as long as we've had email, and that's actually longer than I've been alive. So it's incredible how they keep doing this. But with more and more services available, more and more options for fraud come out there. So we take a look at this one, and there's a couple of highlights here that you can look at to see the red flags. If we take a look at that reply to that first line that's circled there, it says it's coming from info@foodstampnews.com. Come on, Netflix isn't going to send you a gift card, and they're definitely not going to do it from foodstampnews.com. That's just not right. Something's fishy here already if we take the time to look. And then they're going to offer you $50. Netflix is unlikely to offer any one of us $50 simply for being a great member of Patelco or a citizen of California or whatever it is, and filling out some kind of a survey. This is really, really fishy, and it's not worth it. They say you might get $50, but you might also end up with bad stuff on your computers, or you might end up with identity fraud or getting scammed in some other way. It's not worth your time. Digging your way out of that is terrible. Let's take a look at the next one. This hurts me when I hear about these, the sweetheart scams. Online dating, that's a really big thing right now. We've had 2 years of lockdowns and social isolation and fear in the air from this pandemic. A lot of us are single, trying to find that special someone, and online dating is an easy way to do it, or at least it's an easy way to meet a lot of people, and a lot of those people could be scammers. And it's terrible. We all want to love, we all want to be loved, and they will manipulate you there. They will appear to be a perfect partner. It's heart-wrenching because they are playing on some very basic human emotions, and they're supposed to be good emotions. So what do we see? We see them progress for a little while, and then, oh, the story comes up. I need money for plane tickets, or there's an emergency, or I lost my job. Sweetie, can you help me? Don't do it. Don't send money to somebody that you haven't met. And honestly, you probably shouldn't send money to a lot of the people you have met. Please just be careful. Think about it. Unless you've had a long-term relationship where money has already been discussed, you don't want to send money to somebody you've met online. All right, let's drop into the second poll. Now we're going to start looking at the consequences of fraud. So how much money do you think Americans have lost from fraud or scams last year? Oh, I see those answers rolling in. Got some active participants today, Veronica. So glad to see that. Yeah, still rolling in a little bit. Gonna do another 10 seconds here for everybody to get your votes in. And we'll go ahead and close that poll down. So again, those of you who, oops. Okay, I got a little error message there. I hope everybody can see that the top answer was 5.8 billion. 70 people guessed that, and you are correct. That's why the scammers are so persistent. It's because there are billions of dollars out there to be scammed out of people. Fraud is a huge business. Go ahead and close that down and let's move on. So where are we seeing these scammers active, and what are they doing? When we start breaking it down by age, we start with the first category, our youngest category. Scammers don't care how old your kids are. They don't see them as real humans. So they'll try to reach out through social media, through chat, maybe using AI chat bots. They're, like I said before, they're very clever, and they'll try to get, again, the P2P fraud. They'll try to get some information through social media, social friend requests, any kind of social manipulation. And sometimes they'll turn kids into what are called mules, where they can actually launder money through the accounts, either at their credit union or through Apple Pay or something like that. They can actually launder money through them by sending them some of the dirty money, and then the kids send back the money. It's rough. It's rough to see these things go on. When we move up to the next age bracket, we start seeing a lot of robocalls. We've all gotten the extended vehicle warranty calls. Those are just annoying. They make me choose sailor language when I get those. That's how they're getting to people in this age bracket, because they tend to answer the phone. and they'll do text messages because they tend to respond to text. These are how we tend to communicate in this age bracket. And they'll try to get you with the rewards, or they might send you a message saying, oh, we couldn't deliver your package, you have to sign for it, or we're going to return it back to someplace expensive. We'll have to ship this FedEx box back to the winery that's nearby, or something like that. Or they may simply say, hey, we're trying to confirm that this money hasn't gone through. We need your contact information so that we can send you the $2,000 that Veronica is trying to get to you. As we move up, we start seeing more email and robocalls in this age bracket, because quite frankly, the younger age brackets don't tend to check email as often anymore. So we'll get something that's a little bit more appropriate for that age bracket. We'll get financial info, interest rate reduction offers, and again, the parcel tracking, because they're trying to get you to engage and interact. And finally, when we move to our senior most age bracket, it's mostly robocalls. This age bracket tends to answer the phone. They tend to answer texts less, and they don't typically participate much in the online social media, friend requests, that type of thing. And then we're going to find that the subjects change to items that will elicit a response, like the IRS, healthcare, Social Security. They'll pretend to be with the IRS or something like that to try to get these folks to engage. It's rough. I hear about this all the time. I work with our fraud department, and hearing these stories is tough on us. So I like to address that final category the most, because elder fraud is one of those areas where we have a lot of ability to help, and we have a lot of tools available out there. So the first thing that we can do is we can stay connected with our older relatives and the older members of our community. I like to call them the patriarchs and the matriarchs of our communities. Staying connected helps them have a social outlet. It keeps them very active, again, socially, and it creates an environment where they are more comfortable bringing questions to you. If they say, oh, I just got a call from the IRS saying that I have to send them $5,000, or I'm going to jail, or that my Medicare benefits will be cut off, that gives us the ability to look at it as an outside party more objectively, and help give them that moment to pause, to think about it, and look at other ways to contact the particular organizations. If the IRS has contacted them, contact the IRS. If it's a fraud, the IRS will say, we have no reason to talk to you, everything is fine, and we'll get it all cleared up. Be involved. This is very much the same as being connected, except that the more that we are involved with our patriarchs and matriarchs, the more often we have the opportunity to interrupt the scammers' tactics. I have dinner with my dad every week. Now he's sharp as a tack, so he tells me about the funny business that everybody's trying with him, and he actually helps me do my job better. But for especially seniors who maybe aren't quite as sharp as they used to be, it helps to have that connection all the time to help them when these items come up. And then finally, learn about the resources that are available to you, especially in situations where there's elder abuse or elder fraud. The social services agencies in each county typically has adult protective services available, and you can find them just by searching for that on the internet. I could type up the Alameda County Adult Protective Services organization, and I'll get there very quickly. And that they have a wealth of resources available. I didn't even know about this until a month ago when I encountered them at the local county fair, and they told me about everything that's available there. And it's amazing what they can help you get taken care of. So this is my advice to everybody. Listen to the skipper. Be suspicious and wary. Now, why suspicious and wary? Because suspicion makes us pause for a second before we do things. This is a theme that's going to come up all the time when I discuss fraud. That pause, that moment that you think about what is going on, does this phone call make sense, gives you a moment to maybe not participate in the fraud or to disrupt the fraudster's tactics. What are the red flags you should be looking for? If you get a text message, somebody's asking for your PIN, that's private. That nobody gets your PIN. The only place that I ever put my PIN in is at the ATM. If anybody texts you asking for a social security number, for goodness sake, don't send that to anybody. I would never send my social security number over text message. I resist giving it to just about everybody. I drive my doctors crazy. Doctors really hate information security professionals, it seems. No, I'm kidding. That my doctor's great, but it is a little frustrating sometimes, the amount of information that we have flowing everywhere with my understanding of what happens when it flows everywhere. And then one-time codes. A lot of us are familiar with those. You might not be, but sometimes you'll get a message on your phone when trying to log into a specific service. And it'll say, hey, here's your one-time code for logging into Patelco online banking, let's say. You don't share those with anybody. Those should not go outside of the service that they are intended to support. So if you get a one-time code for online banking, or if you get one for even your Facebook account or something like that, you should not share that with anybody. It should only be used on the website that it came from. Now, when we look at email, man, email is terrible with the amount of stuff that flows around on there. When they're asking you to download an attachment, you need to be really careful, because those y'all know that those attachments can be full of malware. They can direct you to do things that that aren't in your best interest, we'll say. They may ask you to fill out a form. If you're filling out a form, you're giving a stranger your information. And I think we all need to go back to what our parents told us when we were little. You don't tell strangers anything about you. You don't tell them your address. You don't give them your phone number. You don't tell them anything. Just don't do it. And one of the things that you'll see in these emails frequently is misspelled words or things that don't quite make sense grammatically. Words might be in an order that doesn't make sense to you. It looks funny. When you see a bunch of those red flags, get rid of the email, delete it, check with the original organization. If it looks like it's from Patelco, call Patelco. Our member service representatives will help you out with that every time. And then finally, we're going to get phone calls, like I said earlier. And if they're asking for your address, or they're really pressuring you to do something like, hey, lady, if you don't help me out right now, if you don't give me your social security number, we're going to cut off your credit card. These high pressure tactics, that is how they get us to make bad decisions, because it prevents us from taking that moment, that pause, and thinking, does this make sense? Why does the credit card company need my social security number again? They already have it. They're not going to use that to validate who I am. And I certainly wouldn't give this to a stranger. Let me call the credit card company. That's what I hope you do. And also asking for your birthday. Nobody needs to know your birthday. Most of the time we won't tell our friends our birthdays because we don't want them to know how old we are. Why give it to a stranger? All of this information that they gather, they keep and they use against us. It is not in your best interest to share anything with a stranger. So what do you look for when you go to a website? Well, this website, I mean, this looks great, right? Looks like it's Patelco online banking. It's got the login. All the logos are good. It's got the nice lady with the dog in the background there. This looks lovely, except what is that URL? That's mypatelco.com. That's not our URL. We are patelco.org. And our online banking is under the patelco.org URL. This address up here, that's bogus. And if you punch your information in here, you'll be giving it to a bogus group. Now we start looking at the phone calls and texts. So we look at a call history with Patelco. A lot of calls back and forth. Some of those are probably legit, but some of them could be false on the incoming calls because those caller IDs can be faked. Now we take a look at this this text message. This looks exactly like one of our fraud text messages. If we see suspicious charges on your credit card, we might send a text message exactly like this, except that phone number doesn't look like the phone number that I've seen us use for these messages. And as we can see here, the person responded, no, that's not a valid charge in Shreveport, Louisiana for $125.27. That's a valid response. I would send that response. But now they're saying that the card is restricted and a representative will be calling you shortly. This is the same kind of call. The whole call has the same level of confidence as a random call out of the blue. The text message doesn't make it any safer. I would call Patelco following that if I received this message so I could straighten out the card or learn that this was a bogus set of calls and messages. And then we see a Zelle confirmation directing you to call our number. This actually looks like a legit message from Patelco, and I would call Patelco, but I would dial the number that I have on our website, in my membership packets, on my statements, in our online banking, or in our mobile app. We list our phone number as many places as we can for our members, so it's easy for you to contact us in the event of suspicious activity so that we can help you protect any of your information, your online banking status, everything. We want you to be safe. We are here to serve you. So let's look at the best practices. What are some of the guidelines for living on the internet? First of all, don't share your personal info. Nobody needs that. If you didn't go to the website and have a reason to do business with them, and a good reason to do business with them, don't give them your personal info. It's bad enough how much our info is out there for legitimate reasons, and we see these data breaches all the time. But giving it out to many places without a good reason increases our risk dramatically. Never ever give out your username and password. Your usernames and passwords are there to say that you are the person logging into this website. When I use a username and a password on a website, it says that Sean Casey is at the keyboard and interacting with this website. If you share it out, it could get out of your control and somebody else could start using it. And typically, again, they're not going to be doing this with your best interests at heart. Please remember that your PIN, your personal identification number associated with your cards, is private. We don't share that with anybody. As I said, I only punch it into the machines when I've got my card in them and I'm trying to do a transaction. That's when they are valid. We will never ask you for your PIN over the phone. Our member service representatives can't see your PIN. They don't know what it is. We keep it encrypted in databases so that any kind of a machine can validate your transaction. That's why those are there. And then I've got these funny words down here. MFA is an alert. MFAs aren't something that's floating around in your blood. That's multi-factor authentication. And those are the codes that I was talking about showing up on your phone. Sometimes they can be texted to you. Sometimes they get emailed to you. Other times you have an app on your phone that will generate them for you. Never share these out. People don't need these numbers. Websites and systems may need these numbers to validate your login. And then we look at alerts. Alerts saved me. I'm not sure how it happened, but somebody did gain access to an online banking account that I had. But I had set up alerts on my logins for that account. And I got a notification that somebody had logged into it and they'd logged in from New Jersey. I don't go to New Jersey very often, and I certainly hadn't been there in months. So I had to go in and check to make sure that nothing had moved. And I was calling the member service phone line to make sure that everything was okay, changed my password. made sure that everything was still set up for multi-factor authentication, got everything set up so that everything would be okay going forward. It turned out that nothing harmful had happened. I had stopped the access before anybody could do anything, and everything was okay, but that alert saved me. Moving on to more best practices, don't trust strangers. Stranger danger, right? We learned that when we were little kids, most of us. Generally, you don't want to give information to strangers. And that includes calls from people we don't know, text messages from people we don't know. And certainly don't trust them to drive your computer. Don't give somebody remote access to your desktop. Don't let them just take care of one thing for you. Your computer should be just as private as everything else that you're doing. Again, don't send money to strangers. If you don't have a long-term relationship where you have met in person multiple times, an established friendship, their family, sending money to strangers is letting go of that money. It's probably not going to come back, and it's probably not going to result in whatever they've promised. I don't mean that everybody out there is bad and trying to steal your money. I just mean that it's risky, and I see a lot of sad stories come out of that. And then finally, shred everything. If you're not going to hang on to a piece of paper for one reason or another, and it has any of your personal information on it, run it through the shredder. If you don't have a shredder, shredding services are available at most office supply stores, and they'll let you bring in a generous amount to stuff in their bin to get shredded for you. But putting that into the trash or into the recycling is unwise, in my opinion, because that data is available to anybody who routes through your recycling or your trash. And you don't want that information to get out there. And finally, we have support resources listed out here. Again, our member service representatives are eager to help you. They do a fantastic job, and they will help you with any situation that comes up. You can call us, you can come into a branch, you can work through chat on our website. We try to extend ourselves out to you in as many ways as we can, because we are here to serve and support you. If you think you have been a victim of fraud, you made a mistake, you clicked that link, you responded to that text, law enforcement will be able to help you with that. They have computer crime units in almost all police departments, where they will help you, or at least try to document what happened. You would also contact your financial institution if you think you've been defrauded, so they can run an investigation and see what can be done. It's easy to be embarrassed or afraid of what might happen, but the sooner you get that information to the financial institution, the more luck they are going to have in stopping or reversing the transactions that have occurred. And then finally, your county social services and adult protective services can help when perhaps you suspect that someone is suffering from elder abuse or has been a victim of fraud against elders. They have remarkable amounts of services, and again, the workers there are passionate and really do want to help the folks who are under their domain for their mission. And then this is going to sound like a broken record almost, but the most important thing to remember, the one thing to take away from all of this, is to pause and think. Online, on your phone, in your life, pause and think. Does this make sense? Is what this person is asking me to do reasonable? Is there a way that I can handle this by validating who I'm talking to? So it's super important, and I think this is the one thing that I would really like everybody to take away from this. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. And I'd like to
But
thank
not the
everybody
end
for
of the
making it this
questions.
far. And it is
Yes.
not the end of questions. I have time available to answer any questions that have come up in the chat. And I understand, Veronica, you've been looking out for me there.
Yes, I have some excellent questions.
Oh, fabulous.
Can you tell us how to protect ourselves from data breaches?
So protecting yourself from a data breach is difficult because typically the organizations that are experiencing these had a legitimate reason to gather your data at the time that it happened. There are two things you can do. One, give your information to as few organizations as possible. So perhaps you do need to give your information to a financial institution. They're required to have it, but maybe you don't need to give all that information to a little corner hole in the wall website that is offering knickknacks on the internet. The second thing that you can do is that as a resident of California, you are protected by the CCPA and the CPRA. These are pieces of legislation that give you control over your data anywhere it is stored. So if a company does not have a regulatory reason to hold on to your data, you can request that they delete that from their records. And the fewer places your data are stored, the fewer opportunities that you have to become a victim of a data breach.
Perfect. The next question I have is concerning, somebody asked, do you know of a good brand of a shredder?
Oh my goodness, I haven't researched that in a long time. What I would do is I would look for a cross-shredding shredder. I can't recommend a specific brand, I just don't know. The smaller the pieces, the better. The harder it is for somebody to reassemble those into something. We've probably all seen spy movies where they take those long strips of paper and tape them up next to each other. The tinier those are, the more it looks like spaghetti, the better it is.
Do you recommend freezing your credit?
Freezing your credit is generally a good idea if you don't have plans to make a major credit move. Freezing your credit would be a very difficult situation or a very difficult move if you're planning to take out a home loan or refinance, or perhaps you're moving to a more advantageous credit card. The frozen credit can cause a stumbling block in that particular situation, but for general day-to-day, a freeze is a good idea.
So what is skimming?
Is that skimming?
Yeah.
With an I?
Yes. When you have your debit card.
Yeah. So skimming is a physical thing where they can put a reader on top of a credit card reader to gather that magnetic stripe data off the back of your card. Oftentimes, it'll also have a keypad on top that gathers your PIN. So when you are using a machine that is reading your credit card, it pays to see if the machine looks sound. If it feels like there's an extra piece of plastic on top or something that you can peel off, I would be very careful, and I would personally mess with it and see if I can maybe peel that off. But I live in that. I do that all the time. It might not be so easy for you, but it would be smart to ask the cashier, because it's typically in a pay situation. Ask them, does this look right to you? Can you process my card through your machine instead? Or if it looks like it's doing that, tap to pay, which is a feature that Patelco is coming out with, or using your Apple Pay, Google Pay, any of those tap to pay type situations typically defeat those skimmers, because it's changing card numbers, it's using encryption. So that's a safer way to go if you think that the machine's a little suspect.
Thank you. Can you just explain one more time what ransomware is? The difference between ransomware and malware?
So ransomware is a particular kind of malware. Malware is any kind of bad software that goes on your computer. Ransomware will take all of your data and encrypt it. And then that data is ransomed. They ask you to pay them $500, $1,000, depends on how valuable they think it is and how much money they think you have. And they say that if you give them that money, they'll give you the decryption key. Oftentimes they don't.
Yikes. I heard, Sean, that some of the scammers look through the obituaries to find relatives of people who have just gone through loss, and they try to victimize them because they're so vulnerable, because they're emotionally tired, and then they make them exhausted, and they end up making really bad decisions. In fact, that happened to a friend of mine. What suggestions would you make on how to protect our elders when, especially after they've gone through a major loss?
So when we're talking about elders in specific, maintaining the connection and staying engaged in their life, especially after having gone through a loss or another major emotional event, that I think that's the most important thing that we can do for them. In terms of how to prevent the scammers from reaching them, don't put the personal information in the obituaries. So anybody who wants to get in contact with someone who's been bereaved will typically be able to find a way to contact them without that phone number being in the newspaper or some other obituary website.
So we have to be particularly cautious and protective over people that have just gone through some emotional problems. So we have Michelle. Michelle says that using her credit card instead of her debit card gives her more protection. What do you say about that?
That's absolutely true. The credit card has additional protections on top of it against fraud and scamming than does the debit card. I don't have the exact numbers at hand, but I would recommend using your credit card in any situation where you're making a purchase online or you're interacting with a device that you don't quite trust.
Yeah. Nina says that she thought that we had a lot less problems before we went digital. You know,
I think Nina's right.
Yeah, so the internet brought us so many gifts and conveniences. However, it is treacherous. So we have to understand as citizens that maybe what we think we're safe, and maybe we're not as safe as we think we are. That there's access to our computers, that we have to be extremely diligent and cautious around our digital information. And yeah, I think so. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. The internet oftentimes looks like a sunny park with nice places to play and have picnics, but it's really like a dark alley in a dangerous city.
Yes, yes. And I heard that California is #1 in terms of financial loss, and #5 in terms of identity theft. So we have to make sure that we're protecting our information, the two-way authentication, to stay connected. And when you happen to have a fraud happen to you, do not be ashamed. Let us come, let us support you and get the information that we need so that we can lessen the damage, because we're all human and we're all vulnerable. And that is why it has to be a community effort for all of us to help one another out. Right, Sean?
Absolutely. Yes, we do. We make mistakes. We are human. And the fraudsters are very clever. They're very good at their job, which is getting your money away from you. So there's no need to be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. Call us quickly.
Yes, yes. So let's say, yeah, it's extremely scary. However, if you have the right information, you do the two-way authentication, you get the information that you need, and you always are cautious. I get these text messages, and sometimes when I'm moving too fast, I will actually respond to them. And then I will remember and do the moonwalk away from what I did. So Sean, if I made a mistake and I actually talked to one of these scammers and they actually got my information, what should I do?
First thing you should do is contact the financial institution of any of the account information you might have given out, or wherever your accounts are that were involved in this situation, and be upfront. You say, hey, this happened. These are the circumstances. This is what I think happened. And all of these organizations, especially Patelco, are going to be willing to help you enthusiastically so that we can stop the chain of events that come from that.
You know what, Sean? You did an amazing job. Didn't Sean do an amazing job, you guys? Yes. So there's lots of things you can do to protect yourself. But the most important thing you can do to protect yourself is get the right information and stay connected to your credit union and make sure that you have all of your debit card and credit card information somewhere safe. In case you lose your wallet, you can quickly call everybody. I was in the airport and I couldn't find my wallet, and by the time I got home, I had put all of my cards on fraud, and then I found my wallet underneath the seat.
Oh no!
Shucks.
Oh goodness! What a lot of effort!
But it just shows that I was ready.
You were protected. Yeah, you were prepared. Protected. That's good.
A little inconvenient, but I was ready to go. So I want to thank you guys very much for your time, for your attention. I thank you very much for focusing on your financial health, and because you deserve to live a life that is not full of grief. Okay, and thank you so much for coming. And our next webinar is coming up, and it is going to be on how to pay off debt. Because we're in a rising interest rate environment, your debt is going to cost you more money, and we're going to support you with that so you don't have to be alone with your debt. We'll sit there and we'll hold your hands. We'll be like your best friend, okay? So make sure you come to the next webinar, Paying Off Your Debt. Make sure that you're taking care of your physical health, your financial health, and your emotional health. And know that at Patelco, your financial health and well-being is our mission, and we truly care, truly. So me and Sean would like to thank you again for coming and let you know that we're on your side, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Right, Sean?
That's absolutely right. We want you to be well, and we want you to be safe.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you so much for coming. And we will see you guys on the next exciting webinar. Ciao. Thanks, Victoria. See you soon. Bye, Michelle. Bye, Tammy.